The events begin with Yukari on a ship that is about to sink. There's a man on the boat who stretches out his hand to help Yukari. Yukari doesn't know who the man is, but he feels like he knows him. In the next scene, Yukari wakes up on another ship and discovers that he was dreaming. After waking up, an old lady calls out to him and asks for his help in carrying her bag because her back hurts. Yukari agrees and helps her. Then, the ship's crew announces that they will soon enter the old town area and that the ship will reach Shimonoseki in about 10 minutes. And that the weather in the China area is very good. After that, a news broadcast appears on the TV, with the announcer saying that during heavy rain, there could be strong winds or high waves, and residents living near the sea should stay away from it entirely. The announcer adds that this severe rain issue has been unpredictable for the last 20 years, which means the government and global organizations are powerless. The heavy rainfall has caused the sea level to rise by 100 meters above normal, leading to the flooding of many coastal areas, including large cities and agricultural and industrial areas. The female broadcaster mentions that most younger generations do not know anything about old ways of life, and that all their knowledge comes from internet videos. The announcer then tells the broadcaster that the important thing is that there is a strong storm today, and that no one should approach the sea. Yukari sees a giant whale while on the ship, but the old lady tells him she doesn't see anything and says that no creature can live under such strong waves. Yukari doubts his own eyes and wonders what brought him here. He thinks that in the country he used to live in, the capital, Nagano, there were no fish, storms, or any dangers. Yukari recalls memories and remembers a scene where he was standing in front of a nun. The nun tells him that he is not an orphan and that he has a grandfather. Yukari is surprised because he thought she found him on the stairs, but the nun explains that this is what his grandfather told her to say. The nun then gives Yukari a paper with his grandfather's address and asks him what he plans to do. Yukari takes the paper from her, saying he will think about it. After that, Yukari returns to the present on the ship and is shocked to see a massive cyclone appear in the middle of the sea, with a huge whale surfacing from the water, saying, "I found you." Yukari is startled when he hears the whale's voice. The whale then leaps onto the ship and breaks the windows. Yukari panics but notices that no one else can see the whale. All the passengers only see the storm and the waves. The whale transforms into monsters and attacks the passengers. Yukari starts to run to escape, but one of the monsters wraps around his leg. And at the moment the monster was about to crush Yukari, a woman holding a spear appears with a green aura around her. The woman saves Yukari and kills all the monsters inside the ship. Afterward, the whale swims away and dives beneath the water. The woman looks at Yukari and is stunned to see a blue aura surrounding him. She hugs Yukari tightly and cries, saying, "Finally, I found you." As she hugs him, she holds him a little too tightly but apologizes afterward. Yukari asks her who she is and how she knows his name, but she pulls him by the hand and starts to move. On their way, she tells him that until recently, they didn't know about his existence, but they found out that Toshimasa had been giving them false reports. After that, the woman introduces herself to Yukari, saying her name is Sin, and that she was sent by the Public Safety Marine Force, the holy agency to ensure his safety. She tells Yukari that they have a mission to find a new contractor to protect the country. In the end, Sin tells Yukari that he is the last surviving member of the Fujikura family. Yukari thinks and tells himself that he doesn't know what Sin is talking about, that it's the first time he has heard those names, and he questions the connection between her and the monster that appeared. Sin tells him that he is now considered part of her family, which confuses Yukari even more, and he asks himself, "Who am I?" Yukari remembers the dream he had on the ship at the beginning of the events, about the man who tried to help him in the dream. But Yukari quickly returns to the present. Then, a man on the ship asks Yukari and Sin if they are okay. Sin then sees some boats approaching and says they are civilians, telling Yukari to stay where he is, and that she will come back for him later. Sin tells Yukari that this man is one of the civilians, and then she jumps off the ship and leaves him. The boats take Yukari and bring him to the hospital. We see a quick scene of an old man in the hospital, looking out the window. Then, the scene shifts to Yukari inside the hospital, with a doctor. The doctor tells Yukari that it's a miracle he survived with his injuries. The doctor says his scans are fine, but Yukari is still thinking and asking himself, "What was that headache I had?" The doctor tells Yukari that he doesn't need to stay in the hospital any longer and asks him if he has anywhere to go. Yukari responds that yes, he has a place to go, showing the doctor the paper with his grandfather's address, and it turns out his grandfather is in the same hospital in room 303. Yukari goes to his grandfather's room and discovers that his grandfather's name is Enmi because the name is written on the door. Yukari enters the room, immediately introduces himself, and tells Enmi that his adopted mother said that he is his grandfather, but Enmi denies knowing Yukari and says he must be mistaken. Enmi assures Yukari that he is the last survivor from his family and that the rest died a long time ago, saying he has been alone since then. Yukari asks Enmi if he knows anything about his adoptive mother Kiko or if he knows his childhood friend, but Enmi replies that he doesn't know anything about her. Enmi asks him to leave his room, but Yukari raises his voice and questions Enmi about the monster he saw in the sea and about the Holy Agency, and he angrily asks Enmi, "Who am I?" Enmi gets angry and reaffirms to Yukari for the last time that he doesn't know him and has no descendants, insisting that he go back to where he came from. Yukari apologizes and exits the room. While going down the stairs, he slips and falls to the ground, and then Yukari starts laughing while crying on the floor and asks himself, "Is there anyone I can go back to?" Suddenly, the monster from the sea bursts from the ground and attacks Yukari. He tells himself that there's no one around to save him this time, so he picks up a stick and decides to defend himself. Yukari attacks the monster with the stick, but the monster wraps around the stick and pulls Yukari underwater. Yukari surrenders to death, but in his final moments, a yellow light appears, and the man he saw in the dream on the ship appears. The man mocks him for struggling against a small fish. He reaches out his hand to Yukari during the same scene he saw in the dream and tells him, "If you want to live, you only have one chance. Take my hand." Yukari stretches out his hand to grab the man's hand, and suddenly a sword appears in Yukari's hand. The scene shifts back to the hospital, where Enmi taps Sin's hand and tells her that he couldn't reach Professor Fujikura. Sin tells Enmi that Yukari is the new, sacred one and that this is the will of the Holy Agency. Enmi laughs and says that it was Ishibashi who did this. Enmi states that Ishibashi claims to be a brilliant strategist, but says Ishibashi will always be just a child compared to him, making Enmi doubt the veracity of this claim. Sin responds to Enmi, saying that she respects him for everything he has done on the front lines, unlike the cowardly members in the Council of Elders, but Sin tells him they must continue to fight. The scene cuts back to Yukari with the sword in his hand. Yukari thinks that the sword appeared suddenly when he took the man's hand. The man is surprised and asks Yukari, "A kid like you is my new contractor." Yukari asks him who he is, and the man replies that he is the Guardian of Light and his name is Todai. Todai tells Yukari that he embodies the light found in the lighthouse and that he is the protector of the sea. Todai informs Yukari that from today onward, you will use me as the Sacred One, and Todai tells him that he will eradicate the Suka water demons that are present in the Sea of Japan. Yukari remembers what Sin said about the Sacred Ones and asks Todai what he knows about them. Todai tells him that's enough information for now, as long as he understands the situation he's in. Todai explains that since ancient times, monsters have been born from the negative energy surrounding the world, and he tells Yukari they call these monsters flood catastrophes. Todai explains that if they don't stop these monsters, all of Japan will drown in the sea. Suddenly, the monster attacks Yukari again. The monster's attack knocks Yukari into the water. Todai tells Yukari to get out of the water, as the water is the monster's playground. The monster prepares for its next strike, and Todai tells Yukari to close his eyes and calm his heart. Yukari feels a sudden warmth, and Todai explains that this warmth is due to his spiritual energy. Todai tells Yukari to let his body relax and swing the sword. Yukari swings the sword, and a strike emerges from it that collides with the monster's strike and causes an explosion. However, Yukari's strike was weak, and the monster attacks him again, delivering a powerful blow that sends him flying. Todai states that Yukari won't be able to use his power fully until he formalizes a contract at the foot of the lighthouse. Yukari faints from the impact of the monster's blow. Todai tries to wake Yukari up so he can avoid the monster's next attack. Yukari recalls all the instances he has experienced. The monster swallows Yukari, but at the last moment, Yukari releases energy with his sword and explodes the monster from the inside, killing it. Todai is very impressed, as he never expected Yukari to deliberately let the monster eat him in order to blow it up from the inside, given how tough the monster's outer skin is. After defeating the monster, Yukari feels an intense heat in his arm and faints. The next morning, he wakes up to find himself in a bed on a ship, and feels intense pain in his arm, noticing a mark on it. Then, Todai appears to tell him that this mark means he has made a vow and has become a guardian. He explains that this mark will grow twice its original size. Todai informs Yukari that if his energy diminishes, this mark will spread throughout his body. Sin interrupts them with her personal guard, who teasingly tells Yukari that he will die and that he has reached his maximum capacity. Sin yells at her personal guard, calling out the name Mihonashiki. Todai and Mihonashiki start arguing with each other, and Sin is happy that Yukari has woken up, telling him that she saw the light of the contract yesterday, and quickly ran to him to find him unconscious. After that, she carried him and brought him onto her ship, explaining that Todai told her the details. Then, Sin hugs Yukari tightly and thanks him. After that, Todai interrupts them, saying there's no time because Yukari's physical body and Tsunoshima Lighthouse are on the verge of destruction. Today tells Sin that they need to send a rescue team immediately. Today says that as guardians tied to the Sanctified Ones, if the energy of the Sanctified Ones decreases, their beacons will weaken too. Today tells Yukari that grandfather Enmei was a great saint, but he has reached his limit, and for this reason, the contract needs to be renewed as soon as possible. Yukari is shocked that Enmei lied to him and that he really is his grandfather. Sin then asks Today if the Guardians use the Halo technique on their side or not. Today replies that yes, and he says that a saint is still alive. At the very least, he understands the techniques. Mihonasuke interrupts Today and asks if the current change in spiritual energy doesn't count as a failure. He adds that, in fact, Today's connection has only reached halfway, which means that the beacon is still unable to regain its power. Today yells at Yukari, telling him to go to his beacon and touch his spiritual crystal, the Fresnel lens. Today tells Yukari that when the contract completes, he will be able to regain his full power, and he emphasizes to Yukari that this is a family mission and an obligation as Enmei's grandson. Yukari asks, Today, why me? He questions whether, just because he has blood ties to Enmei, that means he is obligated to this mission. Yukari reminds Today that Enmei himself said he is not his grandfather. Yukari tells Today that he won't fight monsters even if it costs him his life. Yukari doesn't want to fight for a family that abandoned him. Today gets angry and asks Yukari, do you have any idea how much we've sacrificed so far? Today raises his hand to hit Yukari, but Sin stops him. Sin tells Yukari to forget about the blood relation because they are not from the lineage of the Sanctified Ones. They are actually from the commoner's lineage. Sin asks Yukari, why are you alive? Sin tells him that he needs to know why his grandfather was always distant from him. Sin says to Yukari that she understands he's always been doing what he's been told, not what he wants. She tells him that she was just like him. Then scenes show Sin as a child, sitting on the street in the rain while a man holds out his hand to her. Sin thinks to herself that even until now, all she's needed is to hear that man praise her. Sin tells Yukari that they should go to the beacon together, saying that there, he will find a way to heal his pain. Yukari agrees. Suddenly, a monster attacks the ship, claiming it smells something delicious and that it will swallow them all. Yukari is surprised and says that this is the same monster as last time. Sin thinks to herself that no one but the sacred agency knew Yukari's movements, and wonders if Ishibashi could have predicted everything. Sin tells Yukari to stay where he is and rest while she handles the monster. Yukari wants to go with her, but Sin says that he has exhausted his spiritual energy. Then Sin takes off her jacket, revealing her muscles and her mark, telling Yukari that she won't be late. Sin then confronts the monster, which tells her that the darkness of night is the source of their power, and that it will tear her apart in its true form. The monster starts transforming into a huge being. Yukari is taken aback by the monster's transformation, and Today explains that the danger of the sea at night is not due to storms, but because monsters are more active at night. Today says that Suika monsters draw their energy from shadows, which is why they built the beacon to light the way. Today adds that the more Suika monsters swallow souls, the greater their power and intelligence become. Today warns Yukari that this monster is 10 times stronger than the one they defeated. The monster boasts that it's lucky because it will eat 2 saints in one day, but Sin lunges at it and delivers a powerful strike with her spear. Afterward, Sin leaps and punches the monster hard in the face, sending it flying. The monster is surprised by Sin's strength. Sin then leaps at the monster again, delivering rapid hits. The monster can't keep up with her speed. Yukari is shocked by Sin's speed, but Today tells Yukari that Sin is not an ordinary saint. She is the leader of the water region responsible for guarding it. Sin continues to deliver rapid blows, and the monster is still unable to match her strikes. The monster thinks to itself that she is very strong, but Sin starts to feel pain in her arm, and her mark starts to spread. Yukari notices this, and Today explains that the mark is spreading because the lens is swallowing Sin's spiritual energy. Today adds that when the mark burns, it means that her energy is almost depleted. Today adds that the mark has spread around Sin's arm completely, which is why she fights fiercely to kill the monster quickly. Sin delivers a final blow to the monster, sending it flying. But the monster withstands the blow and releases snake-like creatures from the water that swarm around Sin. The monster thinks it has won the battle, but Sin erupts with green light and kills the snakes. Sin then throws her spear at the monster. The monster tries to dodge the hit, but the spear pierces its armor. Fortunately for the monster, it manages to deflect the spear's trajectory at the last second, so it only injures the monster without killing it. But before the monster can comprehend the situation, Sin lunges at it with a terrifying punch that shatters its head, killing it. Yukari rushes to Sin to check on her. Sin looks tired and exhausted, but she gets onto the ship and tells Yukari that they need to head to the beacon quickly. Mihonosuke mocks Sin, telling her that if she's tired at this level, it means she is not progressing at all, saying that she is still weak. Sin tells him that she knows. The scene shifts to a man with long red hair sitting on a rock in the water, watching the broken skull of the monster, claiming that something interesting is happening. The scene returns to Sin, telling Yukari that they are about to reach the beacon. Sin tells Yukari that the moment he arrives, he should go to the light room on the upper floor because that's where the Fresnel lens is. Sin hands Yukari the ship's helm, telling him to watch over the ship while she kills the monsters to clear a path. Yukari tells her that he can't possibly steer the ship, but Sin tells him that if he can't carve his own path using his power, he will have no future. Sin jumps off the ship and attacks the monsters fiercely, then her spear glows red, causing tree trunks to emerge from the water, wrapping around the monsters. Finally, Yukari reaches the beacon and hurries with Tade to the upper floor. As soon as Yukari and Tade reach the gate, a huge monster lunges at Yukari and grabs him. The monster asks if he is the fool from the Fujikura family. The monster is about to devour Yukari, but Enmei, Yukari's grandfather, appears and strikes a fatal blow to the monster with his sword, saving Yukari. Enmei threatens the monster, telling it not to lay its filthy hands on his grandson, you scum. Then the monster explodes. Tade is shocked and asks Enmei why he is here. Enmei tells Tade that he can't fool him. Enmei reveals his right arm, showing his mark, and tells Tade that it's only half as usual. Tade responds to Enmei, saying, because you don't want it. But Enmei replies, saying that their contract is not complete. Suddenly, Enmei starts bleeding from his mouth. Yukari tries to check on him, but Enmei asks Yukari what brought him here. Enmei wanted Yukari to live in a town without knowing anything. Yukari responds, telling Enmei that he came here to find out what he needs to do for himself. Yukari says that he can't go back until he discovers that. Suddenly, numerous monsters appear and swarm Yukari. Enmei tells Yukari to go quickly because everything is ready now. The Guardian of Light, the body of the previous saint, and the mark. Enmei kills the monsters and orders Yukari to go while he stays behind to prevent the monsters from reaching him. Yukari leaves, and Enmei faces the monsters alone, thinking to himself, I've grown up well so far, what can I say? Then Enmei lunges at the monsters. Tade asks Yukari to repeat the chant after him. Yukari begins chanting after Tade, while Enmei fights the monsters. Then, a yellow light appears and enters Yukari's body. The yellow light emanates from the entire beacon, incinerating all the surrounding monsters. Enmei watches the light and says, I'm sorry, Hotaru and Akiyu, I couldn't keep my promise. Yukari is surprised by the light, and suddenly, he is transported to another place in front of the beacon. Yukari notices that it is daytime now and asks himself, where am I? He looks back to see 4 people, including Tade and Enmei, with the other 2 being Akiyu and Hotaru, Yukari's father and mother. Suddenly, Tade appears beside Yukari in a small body, telling him that these are indeed his father and mother, and that what he sees is a scene from 20 years ago. Tade tells Yukari that these are memories stored in the Fresnel lens. Yukari notices that the city was sunny and had no clouds. Tade says that the current state of the city indicates a decline in the power of the agency of the sanctified. However, Tade mentions that this area was specifically protected by the Fujikura family. Tade tells Yukari that he is actually forbidden to show him these memories. The memories shift to a different scene. 2 years after Akiyu inherited the contract, Hotaru surprises Enmei, who is her father, by saying that she is pregnant and that she will have a grandchild for the first time. Enmei starts to cry, and as Yukari watches the scene, he begins to cry too. Suddenly, the memories shift to another scene where a huge monster with 16 arms is trying to attack a ship. Akiyu, Yukari's father, confronts the monster but is injured and bleeding. Hotaru lunges at the monster, but the monster kills her. The scene shifts to Hotaru crying over Akiu's body while Enmei watches the situation. Hotaru cries, saying she didn't want to pass this on and that she always wondered if this day would come. Enmei looks out the window and notices that the city has darkened. Enmei states that he needs to forge a new contract with Today until he finds another heir. But suddenly, Hotaru starts bleeding and grabs Enmei, asking him to promise not to let her child become a saint ever. She tells him that Akiu died because of him, asking him to keep their family out of this from now on. Hotaru says she wants to protect this child with all her strength. But her time is running out. Enmei agrees, telling Hotaru that he will tell the agency that the child was never born, and that their family line has ended. After that, Enmei takes Yukari, who is still an infant, to an orphanage, claiming that the lady who runs it is his childhood friend, and that he can trust her. Enmei enters the orphanage and hands the child to the lady, then leaves, crying. The memories end, and Yukari returns to the present to face Enmei, telling him that he saw the memories and now knows why he abandoned him. Enmei asks Yukari about the lady, whose name is Amano, and whether she is good or not. Yukari replies that she is good, but that Amano sometimes could be scary. Enmei recalls childhood memories, saying he was also afraid of her when she was angry. Enmei and Yukari laugh together, and Enmei apologizes for not being able to stop him from becoming a saint. Yukari responds that he knows the path will be difficult, but it's the decision he made. Yukari states that he has always envied kids who have families. Yukari would see the children being adopted and he would tell himself that if he became a good child, he would have a family. That's why he used to listen and do what he was told. But now, he's grateful that he wasn't adopted. Yukari thanks his grandfather for protecting him and tells him that he wants to see the scene he witnessed in his memories someday. While Yukari is talking, a man stabs Enmei with a sword. The man looks at Yukari and says, "Nice to meet you, I will give you a disastrous night." Both Yukari and Enmei are shocked by what just happened. Todai addresses the man and says, "Yoshiharu, you traitorous bastard." Yoshiharu tells Yukari that he's pleased with his efforts and that having a new saint is the first major achievement in 40 years. Yukari is still in shock, and Todai shouts at Yukari to run because Yoshiharu is dangerous. Yukari loses feeling in his legs and can't move. Yoshiharu raises his sword and sarcastically tells Yukari that there's no second chance because the movements of the Agency of Saints lately haven't been promising. Yoshiharu says to Yukari, "I will kill you," but suddenly, Yoshiharu stops, and his expression changes when he sees blue energy coming from Yukari's right eye and asks, "What is that in your eye?" Suddenly, the giant monster with 16 arms that killed Yukari's father appears. Yoshiharu smiles and tells Yukari that this monster is the ruler of water and the king of the Suika beasts. But then, Sin appears just in time and surrounds the monster with tree branches. Yoshiharu recognizes Mihanoshiki, Sin's guardian, and praises Sin for being able to restrain Mihanoshiki, calling her a crazy fighting beast. Yoshiharu then strikes Sin and throws her away, telling her that she's weak and her energy seems to be drained. Yukari is surprised by Sin's easy defeat. Then wounded Enmei, from Yoshiharu's earlier stab, wakes up and throws some crystals. The crystals are smoke bombs that distract Yoshiharu, while Sin uses the opportunity to carry Enmei and Yukari and tries to escape with them. Sin takes them to the ship, and Yukari notices that Enmei's wound isn't stopping the bleeding. Enmei then tells Yukari to leave him and go because he will slow him down. Enmei says that Yoshiharu's goal is to kill Yukari and clarifies that Yoshiharu is a traitor. He adds that the giant monster Emperor Ryugu will soon break free from Sin's technique and that there is no other choice. Yukari cries and asks Enmei not to go, but Enmei thanks him for choosing this path, making it possible for him to meet him. Then, Enmei goes alone to confront Yoshiharu. Enmei faces Yoshiharu and tells him that he will tear him to pieces. Then Yoshiharu pounces on Enmei. The scene shifts inside the ship. Sin talks to a person using a golden crystal and tells him that she managed to save Yukari, but her power wasn't enough. The person replies that Yoshiharu's appearance was unexpected, but at least they managed to save Yukari. He tells her that Yukari will be able to stop the Knight of Ouroboros, and that he will be their secret weapon. He orders her to go to the main center of the Agency of Saints, Kotoera Temple. The scene shifts to see a girl reading a message, then she rejoices and says that she has been accepted. She then looks at a picture of herself with Sin and says, "Finally, I will meet my teacher." After 10 days, Yoraki and Sin arrive in Kagawa Prefecture. At Mount Zozu, Sin tells Yoraki that they are nearing the Agency of Saints Center. She notices that Yoraki is silent and sad because of what happened with Enmei. She invites him to lunch and offers him mango from one of the shops, but Yoraki tells her that he doesn't feel hungry. Yoraki and Sin arrive at the entrance of the Agency of Saints. Sin tells Yoraki to close his eyes and enter through the curtain in front of him because it is a magical gate that protects the magical organization and can distinguish between friends and foes. Yoraki does as Sin instructed, and when they enter through the gate, they are transported inside the sacred agency. But an alarm bell rings, announcing that intruders have entered the place. A voice from the microphone orders the contractors to capture the intruders. Sin remembers that the director told her to wait at the gate and not to enter, realizing that she is the reason for the alarm. Suddenly, Yoraki finds himself in the middle of a forest. A girl appears and pounces on Yoraki, throwing him to the ground, announcing that the suspect has been apprehended, and introducing herself as Teruko. The scene then shifts to the main center of the Agency of Saints, Tomiokan, where Yoraki, Sin, and Teruko stand before 3 people, including the president. The president laughs heartily at the situation, but Nanaki, the head of the Sanakai area, says this matter is not laughable. However, San, the president's assistant, laughs and tells Nanaki that it's okay. Then, San apologizes to President Ishibashi and tells him she is ready to take responsibility and accept punishment. But Teruko intervenes, apologizing as well and saying it was her fault and not Sin's. Ishibashi responds that he will not punish anyone because this incident was entertaining. Ishibashi introduces himself to Yokari, telling him that he is the president here. After that, Ishibashi tells Teruko to take Yoraki to their accommodation to rest. Later, Ishibashi sits with Sin, Nanaki, and San to talk about the mission. Ishibashi concludes that the attack on Yoraki was from a weak monster, then a higher-level monster, and then Yoshiharu. It's not a coincidence but rather that there is a spy within the agency. The others are surprised, but Ishibashi tells them this is not the first time it has happened. A person named Sakanju did it before, and there have always been people who succumb to the power of darkness. But this time, they have used the king of Suika beasts. Ishibashi states that they are still human, even Yoshiharu himself, and that humans cannot control high-level monsters, which indicates that the one behind all this could be the original wizard. The scene shifts to Yoraki walking behind Teruko. Yoraki notices that Teruko is ignoring him. They then arrive at a room, and Teruko tells Yoraki that this will be his room. When Yoraki tries to enter the room, Teruko obstructs him, causing him to fall to the ground. She calls him a foolish simpleton and then pounces on him, telling him he is weak and should stop being a saint, warning him that as a child, he must await orders. Yoraki gets angry and tries to defend himself. The two start to fight, but Todai and another guard intervene to stop them. The other guard is Teruko's personal guard, named Rokuzaki. Teruko tells Rokuzaki not to interrupt her, but Rokuzaki threatens her, saying if she doesn't stop, he won't help her. Teruko falls silent and exits the room, but before leaving, she tells Yokari to meet her outside his room in formal attire in 2 hours. After the annoying girl finally leaves the room, Yoraki comments that this is the first time he has his own room and then lies on the bed, saying that he needs rest. Todai tells Yoraki that the sadness he feels cannot be permanently removed because the past does not move forward. Todai encourages Yoraki, telling him to look ahead because a person can only change the future. Then, Sin knocks on his door. The scene shifts to the front gate of the agency, where the saints notice heavy rain. A suspicious spot of water appears on the ground, and when the saints approach the spot, they are split in half and brutally killed. Then a voice says, "Yoraki, are you here?" 2 hours later, at 10 o'clock, Yoraki rushes out of his room and apologizes to Teruko for sleeping in. Teruko scolds him, saying she can't believe a saint sleeps in until midnight, and tells him that the president is waiting for him. When Yoraki enters the captain's office, the captain begs him to help them. The captain informs Yoraki that he must gather all the lights from the beacons to save humanity. The captain tells Yoraki that he is the only one capable of saving humanity. Yoraki is shocked by the captain's words and cannot comprehend them. Then Sin asks Yoraki to go on a journey and to take Nakazawa and Teruko with him as guides, explaining that this journey aims to save the world. Suddenly, the alarm bell rings, and an explosion occurs at the front gate with a giant monster appearing. The captain orders Sin to gather the lighthouse keepers and prepare for suppression. Then, the captain orders Nanaki to gather the unqualified forces and take them to the shelter. Thus, Nanaki orders Teruko to guide the low-level forces to the shelter and excuses himself from Yoraki, telling him they will continue their talk later. Teruko accompanies Yoraki for the evacuation, and he asks her if all the saints are considered forces. Teruko responds that the saints who have contracts with the Light Guardians are considered forces, but the other saints are considered support, and the forces are obliged to protect the support. Suddenly, a monster appears behind Yoriko and Yoraki. Yoriko pulls out her staff and uses it to create smoke that completely distracts the monster. Todai informs Yoraki that Teruko's ability is to produce smoke. Inhaling this smoke causes temporary hallucinations, and Todai tells him that Teruko's ability has great potential for development, but her current level is good for her age. Teruko pulls out a dagger and tears the monster to shreds, but when she thinks she has won, the monster lunges at her again, but Yoraki jumps in to protect her, resulting in his injury. The monster splits into several copies. Amidst this fight, a small one-eyed monster observes and reports what is happening to Yoshiharu. After that, Todai orders Teruko to run immediately, as the monster is too strong for her, but Teruko refuses to flee. Suddenly, an electric net is thrown over the monster, immobilizing it, and Nanaki appears, telling them to come quickly and hide with him. Then Nanaki tells them to leave this monster to him and berates Teruko, telling her that there is a difference between courage and recklessness. After that, Yoraki and Teruko move to a safe place. Someone treats Yoraki's wound, but Teruko feels intense anger at what happened to the point that she slaps her own face. But suddenly, another monster lunges at them, grabbing Yoraki. Then Yoshiharu appears and asks them to behave so that he won't have to use violence. Yoshiharu tells Yoraki that he has come with him because he needs his power, and then looks at Yoraki with a sinister expression, stating that he has dissected Enmi and torn him to small pieces, mocking Enmi and the way he died. Afterwards, Yoraki explodes in anger, and a blue light emanates from his left eye as he tears the monster he is holding into shreds. Yoshiharu grins with delight when he sees Yoraki's power, but he is interrupted by the president and his personal guard. The president then tells Yoraki that it is time for him to leave. After Yoshiharu's departure, the president informs Yoraki that the blue light in his left eye is his special power, called the Sky Mirror Eye. One full day after the attack, workers are repairing the damage caused by the assault. Yoraki receives some equipment from a man. This equipment includes a crystal container, a communication stone used to communicate with other saints because the radio does not work at sea, and night eye glasses used for seeing at night. Teruko enters and is surprised that Yoraki is going on the journey since Yoraki was very scared last night. A few hours earlier, in the medical office, Yoraki, Sin, Teruko, and their personal guards gather. Todai presents a report on what happened. Last night, the barrier broke, 3 people died, and 41 were injured. Sin says that the attack's purpose wasn't to destroy them, but that there was another goal. The president interrupts with his assistant. The president says that the target of the attack was likely one of Yoshiharu's games. Yukari asks the president to tell him more about his special ability, Eye of the Heavenly Mirror. The president uses his power and transports Yoraki, Sin, and Toriko with him to another place. He brings them to the middle of the forest. Todai comments that the place looks like a scene before the monsters appeared, and they find a large Frenzel lens in front of them. Suddenly, Yoraki's left eye glows, and he feels a sharp pain. A blue beam shoots from his eye towards the lens. Then, the president starts explaining. He says that since he was a child, he read all the files at the agency to find a way to eliminate the Suika monsters, but he found no solution. However, one day, he noticed files from the old Meiji era titled The Lighthouse and read in the files that there is a strange lens in each lighthouse, with no specific use. This lens is what they are standing in front of now. The leader says he recently discovered another interesting book. Then he takes out the book and says to Yoraki, "This book was written by your ancestor, Kentatsu, the first president of the Sanctifiers organization." Both Todai and Yoraki are shocked. The president then begins reading from the book. Leave this lens to future generations, the Eye of the Heavenly Mirror, and its secret skill that gathers holy light from the eyes. Offer this light to the Great Lighthouse, and it will destroy the Suika monsters. After the president finishes reading, Sin asks him what this means. The president explains that the heir of the Fujikara family must gather light from all the lighthouses in Japan and present it to the Great Lens. Then it will use all this power to eliminate the Suika monsters. Todai says he had a contract with Kintatsu at that time and had never heard of any of this before. The president replies that Kintatsu must have purposely hidden this information, leaving it only as a clue to be discovered. After that, the president calls on Koshima, and a falcon appears and transforms into a telescope. The president says that Koshima's ability is to predict the future and orders Koshima to show them the future of Japan. Suddenly, they find themselves looking at a tragic scene. The president tells them they are now standing on top of Fuji. Everyone is shocked and horrified by the reality that what they see now is Japan's future. The president tells them that, if the agency loses and the cursed beginning sorcerer wins, this is how Japan will look completely submerged underwater. Then the president tells Yukari that he is the last remaining descendant of the Fujikara family, so he is the only one capable of saving Japan. Yukari tells the president that all of this is too much to take in right now. The president laughs and tries to lighten the mood. After 30 minutes, the president transports Yukari to the second Enmei place. He tells Yukari that he wants to show him the type of life his grandfather Enmei lived. Yukari enters the house and finds it abandoned. He then sees a mark on the wall, similar to the one on his arm. A beam connects the two marks, revealing a hidden door. Uraki opens the door to discover it is his grandfather's room. Todai tells Uraki that Enmei used his mark as a key to his secret room and that Enmei was very careful and kept all his precious belongings in this room. Uraki then finds his grandfather's diary. He opens it to see a picture of him as a child. He also finds many pictures of himself as a child at various occasions when he was in the orphanage. Then a picture falls out of the book, with the words, "Thank you for being born," written on the back, showing Enmei in the picture holding Yukari when he was still a baby. After that, Yukari quietly exits the house. The leader asks him how he liked the house. Yukari replies that he always thought he was alone and that he wanted to walk with his grandfather as a family. But that's no longer possible now after his grandfather was killed. Yukari says that for the first time in his life, he cannot forgive anyone. He then starts to cry. The president tells him that if he unites with the cursed beginning sorcerer, he will be able to defeat Yashiharu. The president asks Uraki one last time, "Will you fight with us?" Then Yukari tells himself that he can now feel nothing but the darkness of hatred and that he will use this darkness with the light of the lighthouses to eliminate Yashiharu. The scene then shifts to Toriko, who is walking in a sticky place and blaming Yukari for their current situation. Then Toriko slips and falls on her face, noticing she's melting. She says that they are trapped here, and her guard tells her that the communication stones aren't working, and something is blocking the signal. 3 hours earlier, the team appears in front of a luxurious ship. Uraki and the companions enter the ship, feeling amazed by it. Sin tells the team that they will train in Kashinazaki and mentions that the commander told her before that she is of the sensory type, so she was trained by Unomi, the leader of the 4th Water Zone, who is considered of the rational type. Toriko gets excited to meet this commander, and Sin says he's a great leader, and all his lighthouse colleagues are amazing. The ship then sets sail for Kashinozaki. At night, around Naruto Strait, a monster appears beneath the ship, hitting it with a shock that causes it to sink. The team prepares for battle. Numerous monsters attack the ship. Sin says she will protect the front and orders Yukari and Toriko to take out the monsters. Sin strikes at the monsters, but she notices that the monsters are absorbing spiritual energy. Yukari lunges at the monsters, tearing them apart with his sword, while Toriko stands hesitantly. But just as a monster was about to attack Yukari, Toriko lunges at this monster and rips it apart. Suddenly, a monster grabs them with its tongue, trying to swallow them. Sin tries to strike at the monster's main body in the water, but the monster uses Yukari and Toriko as shields. Sin hesitates for a moment, which leads a few monsters to pounce on her and restrain her movement. The monster then swallows Yukari, Toriko, and Sin. The scene returns to the present inside the monster's body. Toriko's guard blames her for her recklessness, but Toriko says that Yukari is also to blame. Suddenly, Yukari and Sin appear behind her, but Sin looks injured, which worries Toriko. Todai says they need to avoid a long fight and explains that this monster traps people within it while they are alive until they are digested. Sin strikes at the monster's stomach with her spear, trying to create an exit, but the strike doesn't leave even a scratch. Her guard mocks her, reminding her that the monster absorbs spiritual energy, and the more energy it absorbs, the more monsters come out of it. Suddenly, several monsters leap at the team, but Yukari carries Sin on his back and runs with Toriko to escape. Toriko tries to use her smoke skill, but she fails because her skill is still incomplete. Suddenly, the monster opens its mouth and swallows a massive amount of water. Yukari grabs Toriko's hand as the water crashes down on them, sweeping them inside the monster. Yukari loses consciousness, but wakes up to find that the team is okay, but Sin collapses from exhaustion. Todai comments that Sin saved them from falling by creating a temporary shelter from splitting the pine into fibers. Sin's guard says that the level of stomach acid is increasing, and they don't have much time. He jokes with them, saying that being dissolved by stomach acid is now certain, and Todai scolds him, asking him to try to find a solution until the last moment. Sin's guard scolds and blames Toriko, while Yukari analyzes the situation with a rational mind to find a solution. Yukari notices that the monster cannot speak human language, meaning that the monster is at a low level of power. Sin lost only because she tried to protect them. After a long thought, Yukari discovers the solution, but at that moment, Toriko attempts to jump into the acid to look for an exit. Yukari grabs her at the last moment, telling her she will die from the acid if she jumps in. He scolds her for always being reckless in every situation she faces. Toriko tears up and says she does this because she has to give it her all. Toriko's guard remembers a memory from 10 years ago. At that time, Toriko was still a child. It was her first time coming with her mother, Shinonumi, to the agency. In the memory scene, Toriko's guard, Rokasaki, tells Shinonumi that he didn't want to come with her today. Suddenly, they are interrupted by the former agency president, Sano, who asks her why she is here. He tells her that her family line does not deserve to be here, saying that Sano told Shinonumi that her father was a cowardly traitor, leaving his companions and betraying them on the battlefield. Young Toriko interrupts Sano, defending her mother, telling him that she will become stronger and will become the head of the water region in the future. Back to the present, Toriko tells Yukari that she has to restore her family's tarnished reputation, so she cannot allow them to die here because of her. Yukari reassures her and tells her that they will get out of there. He then presents his idea. Yukari asks Toriko to blow smoke using her skill as much as possible without stopping. Toriko trusts Yukari and follows what he says. Then, Yukari uses a tool that transforms into a small rescue boat, and the group jumps onto the boat. The monster opens its mouth again and swallows a massive amount of water, but Yukari tells Toriko not to stop blowing smoke. Yukari explains that, when the smoke inside the monster's body exceeds a certain limit, the monster will sneeze. Indeed, the monster sneezes, causing Yukari and the team to be propelled out. After Yukari and the team emerge from the monster's body, the monster lunges at them again. Yukari tries to strike the monster, but the monster absorbs it. Sin manages to attack the monster with difficulty and tells Yukari to leave it to her. Sin charges at the monster despite her severe injuries and strikes a seemingly endless number of powerful attacks on the monster. The monster continues to absorb the hits until it explodes and turns to pieces. Yukari and Toriko hug Sin in joy over their victory. Afterward, Yukari receives a call via the communication stone. The call is from Shinomiya, the president's assistant, informing them of an urgent request in Komoda Misaki and asks them to hurry there. 18 hours ago, in Komoda Misaki, Sonoda, the vice president of the Junyumi zone, is seen bleeding on the ground, while Yasunoga, the president of the Junyumi zone, is also heavily injured, and a mysterious person appears in front of them. This person points a gun at Yasunoga, and blood spreads everywhere. After that, Yukari, Sin, and Toriko finally arrive in the area, encountering 3 people, led by a man named Kaisen, the assistant president of the Junyumi zone. Kaisen thanks them for their support, but warns them that the situation requires more experienced forces. Yukari and Toriko feel that Kaisen is underestimating them because they are new. However, Sin reassures Kaisen, telling him that they are capable of handling the situation. After Kaisen explains the situation to them, he tells them that last night, a crab-type monster attacked the Komoda lighthouse, and President Yasunoga and Vice President Sonoda engaged in battle with the monster but failed, resulting in Sonoda losing his life and Yasunoga sustaining a severe abdominal injury. Kaisen informs them that Sonoda had a contract with the Komoda lighthouse, and due to his death, their esteem protection has weakened, and the entire area has suffered significant damage as a result. Sin then requests to speak with Yasunoga. The team then goes to meet President Yasunoga. who tells them that she feels shame and disgrace. Sin reassures her and tells her not to worry. Yasunoga then apologizes to Yukari for not being able to assist him in gathering the lighthouse lights at the moment. Sin tells her that she needs to appoint a temporary contractor for the Kamoto lighthouse. Yasunoga responds that Tsunoda had an heir named Haruhi and that she sent a team to search for him, but they haven't found him yet. Regarding Tsunoda's residence, crab monsters attack Tsunoda's house, but Haruhi hides in an underground hideout. Haruhi is looking for an island to move to, away from the sea. However, while he is searching, one of the monsters breaks into the hideout and lunges at Haruhi, but Yukari saves him at the last moment and kills the monster. Then, another monster appears, but Toriko lunges at it. However, her dagger breaks because it's not strong enough to penetrate the monster. Then, Sin appears and delivers a fatal blow to the monster. After defeating the two monsters, Haruhi tells them he won't come with them and that he doesn't want to be a saint. He then runs away, while Yukari and the others try to catch up with him, but Kaisen shows up, throws a rope around Haruhi, grabs him, and violently kicks Haruhi. However, Sin defends Haruhi and orders Kaisen not to use violence on a child. Yukari heals Haruhi, and Sin says she will take Haruhi to the lighthouse. The team goes with Haruhi to the lighthouse and splits into two groups, one to protect Haruhi and one to distract the monsters. Sin delivers a powerful strike to the monsters to distract them. Then they set up a barrier around Haruhi to buy time. After that, Haruhi finally reaches the lighthouse, and then the lighthouse keeper Kamuta appears and tells them they are late. Then, Todai salutes lighthouse keeper Kamuta, mockingly calling him the Wonder Kid, and the lighthouse keeper says to Todai that he is older than him in human years. After that, Kaisen asks the lighthouse keeper to form a contract with the new saint. Then, Haruhi chants the art of El Hero, but the lighthouse keeper changes his mind and throws Haruhi away. The lighthouse keeper tells Haruhi that he is a worthless boy and that he doesn't want to contract with him. The lighthouse keeper says the guardians have the right to choose their contractors and that he doesn't want to contract with a fool like him. The keeper then tells Haruhi that his father was an excellent fighter, who won people's hearts, but Haruhi, angry, responds that he doesn't care about his father and says that his father ignored his sick mother. The lighthouse keeper says that if Haruhi finds his turtle, Kiko, which disappeared during the fight, he will reconsider contracting with him. The lighthouse keeper then explains that due to the disappearance of his turtle, his power is now only half, which means that even if he contracts with Haruhi now, the contract will only be half effective. Yukari asks the lighthouse keeper what this turtle looks like, and the lighthouse keeper says the turtle is the partner of the coward, who turned into a ghost, and assures them that it's surely hiding near the Tsubaki Hotel. He asks them to find the turtle within a week using Haruhi's power. Haruhi complains that the place is too big and he won't be able to find the turtle on his own. The lighthouse keeper replies that he can only bring one saint, and that saint must be Yukari. At the same time, Toriko is fighting the crab monsters, killing many of them, but their numbers are overwhelming. Sin also notices during the battle that enemy reinforcements have started to come, so she orders the team to retreat immediately. After the team withdraws, Kaisen expresses his frustration at the lighthouse keeper to Yukari, saying he deserves it more, but is interrupted by their leader Yasunoga, who states that the lighthouse keeper's contract is important and should be respected. However, Kaisen disrespectfully dismisses her and leaves. The leader then apologizes to Yukari for her weakness and asks him to find the turtle within a week, expressing her trust in him. Then Yukari meets Haruhi and shakes his hand. The next day, the team is surprised by Haruhi's escape, and Kaisen orders the team to search for him. But Yukari finds Haruhi's hiding place faster than expected. At the same time, at the Rakunum beach, one of the monsters delivers a message to Yashiharu, telling him that Yukari is in Junumi. Yashiharu replies that's why it's difficult to head east. He stretches his hand towards the east a bit, when suddenly, a yellow lightning bolt strikes his right arm, turning it to ash. Yoshiharu states that it's a curse placed by Chief Ishibashi to prevent him from reaching Yukari. He easily heals his arm and mentions that Ishibashi has always been serious since he was a child, and that he hasn't changed at all.